The winter sun had just begun to rise over Chicago, spreading a pale golden glow across the quiet streets. In a small corner diner, a young woman named Maya wiped the fog off the window and watched people hurry past. Her hands were rough from long hours of work, and her apron carried stains she could never wash out completely. Life had never been easy for her, but she carried a kind of honesty and dignity that even hardship couldn't erase. Every morning she worked double shifts to support her sick mother and pay rent for their tiny apartment. She never complained, even when customers were rude or when her manager cut her hours. She greeted everyone with the same warm smile. People often said, "Maya, you're too honest for this world," but she believed honesty was the only thing poverty couldn't take away from her. One morning, a man walked into the diner. Tall, well-dressed, confident, he looked completely out of place in the small local restaurant. His name was Ethan Carter, a billionaire businessman known across America for building one of the largest tech companies in the country. He had everything: wealth, success, power. But he didn't have peace. His life was full of people who wanted something from him: money, favors, connections. No one cared about him as a person. He sat at a corner table, exhausted from another sleepless night. Maya walked over with her usual smile. "Good morning. What can I get for you?" she asked, her voice gentle. Ethan looked up. Something about her tone, simple, kind, genuine, caught his attention. "Just coffee," he replied. She returned with the coffee, but when he tried to pay, she noticed he had accidentally dropped $100 bill along with the smaller notes. She picked it up and handed it to him. "You dropped this," she said. Most people would have kept it, Ethan thought. No one would ever know. But she gave it back without hesitation. He asked, "Why didn't you keep it? You could have used it." Maya smiled softly. "Because it's not mine." That answer stayed with him. Over the next few weeks, Ethan kept returning to the diner. Maya never treated him differently. She didn't know who he was. She talked to him like he was just a regular person. She laughed, she listened, and she never asked for anything. For the first time in years, someone made Ethan feel human. One rainy evening, as the diner was closing, Ethan watched Maya struggle to fix a broken umbrella. Her clothes were soaked, and she shivered in the cold. "Let me drive you home," he offered. Maya hesitated. "I don't want to trouble you." "It's no trouble," Ethan said gently. When he dropped her off at a small, worn-down building, he felt something deep inside him shift. This honest, hard-working girl lived in a world completely different from his, yet she carried more strength than anyone he had ever met. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Their conversations grew deeper. He told her about the loneliness behind his success. She told him about her struggles, her mother, and her dreams. They both found comfort in each other. One evening, Ethan finally told her the truth about who he was. Maya was shocked but not impressed. Not in the way others were. "You're still the same Ethan who drinks too much coffee and forgets his umbrella," she said with a small smile. For the first time, someone saw him. Not his money, not his fame, him. That's when Ethan knew he didn't want to lose her. But he also feared one thing. Would she feel out of place in his wealthy world? When he proposed to her months later, Maya cried. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because you're the only person who ever told me the truth," Ethan replied. "The only person who sees me." Their wedding was small but beautiful. Ethan's side was full of business leaders, politicians, and celebrities. Maya's side had only a few neighbors and her recovered mother. When she walked down the aisle wearing a simple white dress, Ethan felt like the richest man alive. Life changed after marriage, but they handled everything with love. Maya worked hard to learn the ways of his world. Ethan supported her dreams, encouraged her to study, and stood beside her in every challenge. What made their life beautiful wasn't the wealth or luxury, it was the respect they shared. Sometimes at night, Maya would look at the city lights from their penthouse and whisper, "I still can't believe this is my life." And Ethan would hold her hand and say, "This happened because you deserved it. Your honesty brought us here." Years passed, and they built a life filled with happiness, trust, and gratitude. Maya's past had been full of struggle, but her honesty became the bridge that brought her to a future she had never dared to dream about. And Ethan, once lonely despite all his wealth, found a partner who loved him not for what he had, but for who he was. Together, they proved that sometimes the richest hearts come from the humblest places, and the truest love begins with honesty.